This lesson will review how to read and find patterns in a nonfiction text that focus on elements of structure. After you've read the text, you want to go back and annotate for the different types of structural patterns that the author is using. It is not necessary to highlight and identify every section or every part of the chapter. Specifically look where you've already identified signposts or other significant parts of the text. Look to see in those parts, is your author using comparisons, cause and effect, chronological, description? Which type of structural pattern seems to be occurring the most in this section of the chapter? The second thing you want to look at are the location of parts within the whole. Consider that the part that you're looking at is a chapter in a part of the entire book. Look to see if that chapter is broken into sections. Consider how the author has organized the sections or parts of the chapter. What is the purpose of each section? Is the topic of each section changing? Is the actual structural pattern in each section changing? The other thing to look at are text features. This could include the changing of font, the size of the text, the inclusion of pictures, tables, graphs, or footnotes. Once you've highlighted certain sections and you've recognized or identified the techniques or the sections, then ask yourself, what was the author's purpose for that organization? Authors never have an organizational structure by accident. So ask yourself, why did they use cause and effect? Why are they comparing? Some reasons for why they might use a different structural pattern are listed here. To present a cause for an effect, make a complex idea more concrete, to provide context, clear up misconceptions, or to develop a reader's expertise. If you're not familiar with any of these terms, please look in the box for explanations. Don't forget to write the purpose for the organizational pattern in the margin. It's not going to help you later to simply know in your head because you possibly will forget. So write it down in the margin so you can remember later. In order to find the pattern and structure, you're going to look for what structures and techniques have been repeated. If your author has used a lot of comparisons, for example, that would be a pattern. If your author's used different sections or parts, that would be a pattern. Perhaps there's a lot of cause and effect or a consistent chronological structure throughout the entire chapter. These would all be patterns that you want to look for. Questions to ask to help you find patterns would be, how are the parts similar? How are the parts different? And what purpose do the parts serve? Your answer to that question is what you might want to name the pattern. I'm going to give you an example from the chapter titled The Red Circle from the book Unbroken. This is a very obvious pattern in the chapter. It is broken down into 4 sections. So I'm going to title my pattern Sections. The first section, which goes from page 41 to page 44, is all about Louis' achievement in running, leading up to his goal to beat a 4-minute mile and run in the 1940 Olympic Games. Section 2 goes on to talk about war beginning in Europe and in Asia. Section 3 of the chapter returns to Louis. In this case, the Olympics have been canceled, so it talks about what Louis has been doing with his time instead of training for the Olympics. Section 3 ends bringing the war in Europe and Japan closer to Louis in the United States. Section 4, the shortest of the sections, makes the connection to... Section 4 connects Louis in the United States to the war. We see here where he officially joins the Army. Now that I've done the easiest one for you, you're going to do at least 2 more on your own. So go back through the chapter, try to find 2 additional patterns, and complete the graphic organizer.